are 2 volunteer cherry tomatoes that came up in the cracks between the stones outside my back porch step. Went away for a vacation on a week, and of course I hadn't staked them up or anything. There's nothing to stake them to there. And they grew up through between the screen and the frame of the door.
Oh, wow.
When I got back, I couldn't even go out
So are
the
you
door.
getting fruit, and is it good fruit?
Yeah, it's good cherry tomatoes. We got about a dozen of them, yeah.
That's a hardy crop.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, they volunteered, so I'll save some of them and throw them out somewhere to volunteer for next year.
Eggplants are good too, or aubergine. The French call them aubergine. It's a prettier word than eggplant.
I had good luck with eggplant this year. I got probably 50 pounds.
Wow,
And that's at a 14-foot row.
Oh,
oh my
wow.
God.
So
I just had one of your eggplants for supper, Skip.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I made and another couple friends gave me some veggies. So I just did a tomato, eggplant, and squash with Parmesan and garlic bake.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you're
I'm not
making
the
it-
house cook, but I'm flying solo for about 2.5 weeks. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So did anybody get zucchini on National Zucchini Day from their neighbors?
No, I stayed totally away from zucchini. You can't
runs wild.
grow a little bit of that. It's always too much, and it always takes up too much room. Yeah.
I lived outside of Dwaynesburg in Delanson for many years, and I had a big garden there, and I grew too much butternut squash one year. Oh my God, I had like, I think 400 of them. I mean, I literally had to buy shelves to put in my cold cellar to stack them in. It was incredible. So, but it was a lot of fun.
Well,
Okay. I don't see Carol. I thought she was coming. Zach said that he had, conflicts in his job.
Mhm.
So I guess we could wait a few more minutes. But you got any other gardening stories?
no.
Oh, I have a camping story.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're scheduled to camp Friday and Saturday night on a walk-in campsite up in the Adirondacks. And because of the big storm, I decided, I really don't want to slog around in inches of rain. So I called them up and said I'd be in Saturday morning. Get there Saturday morning. They told me there was a problem with the site. And I said, oh, is it flooded? They said, no, a tree came down right in the middle of the site. Well, they gave me another one that was beautiful, right next to, several hundred feet away. But I went and I looked at that site. No, it wasn't one tree. It was 4 all at once that got totally soaked. The root ball got soaked. The whole thing came down, this giant root ball, took out the outhouse, came right down literally in the middle of the campsite. And it would have definitely been where I would have had my tent or my sleeping hammock. I would have just not been here talking to you.
So it came down the night you were going to go there and didn't go.
But yeah,
right?
it came down Friday night. Yeah, they had a really bad storm. The power's out. There were power trucks everywhere and trees
Yes.
down, roads closed. It was a mess. But I wasn't much afraid of the rain. I'll sleep in the rain stuff, but I'm like, you know what? The rain pounded on my tent all night long, 2 inches or something, probably keep me awake. And then I'm like, I don't really want to slog around in the water. I'll just go up Saturday morning. Well, it was a serendipitous decision because it was the one site that got destroyed.
Boy.
Yeah, I would have been right there. And I lost a friend that way. She was another guide. And yeah, she got a tree that came down on her in her tent, and she lived for about 4 days afterwards, but it was not good.
I think she visited you and was sending you a message. So,
Yeah. What, not to camp?
oh, exactly. Her energy came and kept you from going up that night. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get started. So everybody got the agenda and the minutes.
Mhm.
The first thing is getting approval of the minutes. Mary sent in some stuff that Kevin modified the minutes. Does anybody else have any changes, or Mary, do you want to make any additions or subtractions?
Yeah, just a few minor points, Skip. In the first section under CEC updates, on the third paragraph, I thought we should delete the word administration because we were really talking about getting the documentation. And so my suggestion is just to delete administration there, Ken.
Okay.
And
Got
also,
that, Kevin?
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
and then under the grant up, the next section, I think is what, the grant updates? Just two minor things where we have a light duty trucks. There are different fonts, so that those fonts just have to be brought up to comply with the other fonts in the paragraph. And then just another minor on the third paragraph in the grant update section, just to put a period after process.
All right,
Got it.
not too
And-
bad.
Yeah, no,
Mary-
these are all minor. These are all
Right.
minor.
Okay, great, good.
And
Mary, did you get my two emails this afternoon about the CEC heating and cooling, applying for that grant?
Okay, let's
Okay.
take care of the minutes here,
Okay,
and then we'll go on to other things.
okay, it's just another minor. In the fourth paragraph under the grant updates, there's two A's, so just delete one of the A's. These are like typos. That's and then just two other points. When I start talking about CSC, under C, there's no subtitle CSC update. I think there should be CSC updated, as a subtitle there. And then where it starts with Mary did a quick review.
Right.
Yeah, so I just think so. If somebody going back and they want to see what we talked about for CSC, it just, focuses them in on that. And then one other change there in the CSC section, we talk about greenhouse gas inventory. And I think we need the word community before greenhouse gas inventory, because we have the government greenhouse gas inventory, there's a community greenhouse gas inventory. So just for clarification, that just to put the word community before greenhouse gas inventory.
Got it.
Okay, and then finally, Leslie, I'm going to ask you about this one. In the minutes, we talk about the watershed plan, the Esopus watershed plan. And what we were talking about was the lower Esopus, what I was talking about, and I think that's what you were referring to, so I defer to you on this. I thought that was the lower Esopus Creek stream management plan that we were going to write the letter about.
Yeah, lower Esopus stream management plan. And
Right,
it is, that's what it is.
yeah.
And
I know
it's a resolution, as it turns out, and I shared that with you and Skip a couple days yesterday, I think.
Was it a resolution or a letter? Resolution? Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
But I said letter in the meeting, but it turns out, because I reached out to Europa for clarification, and I shared that with you and Skip.
Okay, so we are agreed just to, just to sum up the minutes, we were agreed to just change that in the minutes to the management plan?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's it, just minor.
Okay.
now I'm not even
Okay.
able to see where it is anymore.
So with those changes, is everybody approved?
I move that we approve them with those changes.
Okay,
I
I'll second it.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Okay. So next, Climate Task Force, the CEC Community Plan for heat pumps, that's heating and cooling. Mary sent out a bunch of areas that we could be involved in. So I would be involved in one of them, but wouldn't want to take over the coordinator. I would deal with the vendors and rounding up vendors. So is anybody else
Yes,
for taking on anything? And
yes. I am, Skip, as I sent an email to Barry this afternoon, identifying rebates, identifying tax incentives, I could also have Stephen's help with that since he's involved with the IRS. And hopefully, if the political landscape is positive, the IRS will stay in place. And so,
The IRA, you mean the IRA?
I'm sorry, the IRA.
I know what you meant.
Well, it's also the IRS.
IRS, right.
Yes, well, and also,
Whether we get to vote again, but anyway.
I could, with somebody else help, perhaps I could volunteer for identifying the heating and cooling providers or,
Well, that's what I was volunteering to do, so.
oh, okay, well then, one of the other ones, campaign partners or local organization partners, is that part of what you're volunteering for, Skip?
Would search out vendors to
Okay.
be involved. Is there anybody else who wants to be involved? There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I'm definitely want to be involved. I haven't had a chance to really think about it deeply, what part of it.
So this will be, as those of you who are involved in solarized Socrates, this will be on that level.
Right,
We're really going to need commitment
marketing, yes.
and marketing and outreach, and this is no small thing. So we should really consider how much time we want to, we can't kind of half do this. And we do have Winston Farm coming up. So
That's.
I'm gonna turn this over to Mary. We got a couple of people interested, but I want to turn it over to Mary to finish this off.
Yeah, just for clarification, every area that I put out there is required under this campaign. It's all listed. If you go to the CEC PON 3.0, you will see that all of this is required, everything. And my thought was like break it down so we could, and everybody could do a manageable piece of it. So I agree with Skip in terms of, well, we know it's going to be almost all hands on deck, really, to do this. And the key person would be who's going to coordinate it all. And the other key piece of it is the scoping document. And the scoping document, pretty much everything that we're trying to pull together goes into the scoping document. So unless somebody is, those would be two key areas that we would need somebody to volunteer on. So I maybe Skip, we should just table this for now because Carol said she might need a little bit more time to think about it. It's not exactly time sensitive. We would work on it, between now and the end of the year, if we decide from between now and the end of the year. So my suggestion, Skip, is maybe just table this for now, put it under, consideration and revisit it maybe next month or the following month.
Fine, everybody should look at what Mary sent around and see if they want to get involved in any of the areas. Because like Mary said, we got to fill all the slots. It isn't something like we can let a few things go. So it's going to, like Mary said, it would be all hands on deck.
Yep.
So it sounds like a great thing to do. I think heat pumps are I'm really an advocate of heat pumps, as I was of solar, and I was really energized by being in solarized Socrates. And I would think the same thing about the heat pumps, but the reason that solarized Socrates was positive was that we had a lot of very energetic people involved. So
if I just might make one final point. If we got the scoping document, if a bunch of us wanted to just, take parts of the scoping document, before we do anything, we have to complete the scoping document and we got to get that approved before we could go ahead with this campaign. So maybe we should say, hey, let's see what pieces of the scoping document we could get together. That would at least get us started on it. If we decide to go ahead with it at all, that would be sort of the approach.
So you had a template for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you send that around? Did I miss that?
Didn't I send it to everyone?
Yes,
I
yes, you
meant-
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look and I'll find it.
We've
Okay.
got the template because we did the community solar campaign. So the template is there. So we just have to, in some cases, just change it to heating and cooling rather. So yeah, we have everybody. Do you want me to send it around again?
Yes, please.
Okay,
And so everybody can take a look at this, and maybe our first step would be to look at that scoping document and put that together and see how we all felt about, that. And then maybe other people would be more encouraged to get involved.
Yeah.
I'll help you with that, Mary,
And I will too. I just need to get some time to focus on it.
I would like to also, depending on when and where and how much time this takes, I would like to be involved in it.
okay, great.
So Mary's going to send it around again. We're going to look at what needs to be done for the scoping document, and at least we'll get a scoping document together and then let it set and see how people feel about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Does
if
that
we
make
don't
sense?
get it, if we don't get it together, we don't get it together and, yeah,
Right.
okay.
And just two thoughts. One is October is weatherization month. And obviously because heating season's coming on. We also have cooling season coming on at the end in May or April. I don't know when people might consider that, but we could think about those two ends, the heating and cooling beginnings of seasons.
Mhm.
For heat pumps.
All right, to be continued. Okay, next thing is a CSC update. Mary's on again.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Point number one is I did update the code enforcement officer. So that's been updated. Our latest point count is 199 points. Most of them are approved. Just the 3 that I updated are marked completed. So we're up to 199 points. I have to find out when the completed gets turned to approved. I have a call into to the coordinator to get clarification on how that's done. The other point is we have a new CSC regional coordinator to work with the town. Eleanor Peck will no longer be working with us. The new coordinator's name is Mina, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Viswanathon. And so she's new, and Skip, I think you have her contact information, I believe, too.
Okay, yeah, can you just give me the first letter of her last name? Wanathon, W?
Her last name is spelled VISWANATHAN.
Oh, this
What'd you
is
say?
Wanathon. Huh,
Just one.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, and there's 2 more updates. One is the natural resource inventory. I know Leslie through the county thought we could get points for the natural resource inventory that the county did. I checked it out, and thank you, Leslie, for sending it. I checked it out. They do have all the towns listed. And if you click on a town, and I clicked on Saugerties, what it brings you to is the current documentation we have with respect to natural resources. So it has our open space plan, it has our comprehensive plan, it has all of that, but it doesn't have any updated natural resource inventory. So I don't think we would be able to get any additional points for a natural resource inventory, which leaves the question open. That doesn't leave the question open, but leaves the issue out there about the town getting an updated natural resource inventory, because we know the one we have is back in 2010. So that's something that we'll have to keep revisiting, whether or not we can see or have Kathleen. Is Kathleen here? No. Yes.
Can you
Yeah, she's
hear
here.
me?
Yeah, I can see you now.
I'm
Yeah.
here. I can't get my computer to work with the video, so I'm just here.
I saw the
anonymously.
case, so I thought that must be Kathleen.
Right, it is.
So I'm just putting it out there, Kathleen. If there are grants available for the town to do a natural resource inventory, that probably would be something we could recommend that the town board do, because we definitely will need a consultant and we'll need money to do it. Okay.
Yeah,
Any question on the natural resource inventory? Okay, and the final update is on the community greenhouse gas inventory. Leslie reported from the EMC that the county did a countywide community greenhouse gas inventory. It's just been completed. Within the inventory, there are the towns. And for each of the town, and for the town of Saugerties, they have a 2022 community greenhouse gas inventory. They've got it broken down into sectors. They've got it broken down into how many greenhouse gas emissions occurred in each sector. And I have not read it because I just kind of got it, but I perused it and I looked at the bottom line, and I compared it then to the 2010 one that we had. I'm pretty sure, Leslie, that is going to qualify for 16 CSC points.
Great.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I don't want to speak prematurely, but I'm pretty sure it will. I'm pretty sure it will. And then you want the icing on the cake? Here comes the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Okay. The 210 greenhouse gas emissions were 2,607, 2,87 greenhouse gas emissions. In 2022, the inventory has us down as 2,029,680.
Wow.
And that
But-
translates to about, what, 30 something?
I lost track of those numbers. I
Yeah.
can't.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Huh?
Is it possible to write those actual numbers in the chat? Because
You know what? You don't need to know them. I'll
Okay.
I'll
What
send
kind
them
of-
out.
So what's the percentage?
I
Yeah.
think, well, the difference is 37,607 fewer.
Mhm.
That's good.
for the
So that
entire
comes out to what,
county. or for
37?
house-
For the town,
37%.
For the town of Saugerties.
For the town of Saugerties, I mean, just for the whole town.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
not a
is
huge
community.
percentage.
Wonderful.
Great.
That's great.
That's about what, 37%, would you say? I'm not good at math.
Wait,
I'd have to see the numbers.
yeah, I've
Yeah,
got to see the
Yeah, I have
numbers.
to see the numbers.
Yeah.
too.
They were like,
206
they boggled my mind because they were a
Right.
little like,
So it was 2067,
Okay, I'll give you the numbers again.
Yeah.
Hang on.
yes.
Thank you.
267,287.
267,000.
287.
Oh, 287, got it.
2010.
267, 287.
that's 267,000. Okay.
1,287.
Maybe, yeah, just give us the numbers as they come out,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay. And then for 2022, they have us down as 229,680.
Okay.
Two 220 what, 680?
229,680.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Good.
So that's more than 10%.
Yeah,
It's about 30. Is it at 30?
No,
37?
no,
No.
10% of 267
would be,
would be
yeah,
26.7. So
15%, 14% reduction.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's encouraging.
How do you, I'm terrible at math, so
Well, you take the small number, divide it by the big number, take that number and subtract it from 1.
yeah, so it's 14%,
It's
1406.
14%.
14%.
Yep.
Okay.
And you know what'd be interesting? To know how much our population has changed,
Mm,
because we're increasing population.
has
Wouldn't
already
it be
changed.
but
significant
decreasing
relative
energy
to
use at the same
population?
time.
Yeah, our population's
Yeah.
been very stable.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
it's been
Okay, well, then we have a good reduction.
So the inventory has the population in 2010, I believe, and it also has it in 2022. And not to get too detailed about this, but I haven't really dug into it, but it may not be completely comparable in terms of what they count as mobile transportation, what they count as commercial, industrial. There may be different the criteria may be different in 2010 than it is in 2022. But you know what? we're gonna go with it. We'll put it out there. If
Yeah.
they say, sorry, fine. Okay,
Okay,
okay, let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it. Any
Okay, great.
questions? Any other questions on that?
no, let's, submit it and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, so then the CEC
Yes.
$100,000 grant update and press release. So Kathleen,
Okay, I'll take the update here. We received word that our grant was approved. And Fred, of course, is anxious to move forward with this. So we have a meeting scheduled with representatives of CEC on a Tuesday morning to discuss the next steps. There are a couple of steps you have to go through before, and you have to have a signed contract before you can do anything. In other words, Fred can't spend any money or sign any papers until we have a signed contract with NYSERDA. And of course, he's anxious to do that because the dealer has the truck there and he would like his money. So I think that's why Fred wanted to sit in on the meeting Tuesday morning. So we are meeting Tuesday morning to discuss the next steps. And we don't know exactly how long it'll be. But it would be probably at least a month, even though it's a pre-approved project. Because of course, NYSERDA is, they're doing things with people throughout the region. We're not the only ones. So I don't think we can expect a 1-week turnaround. But hopefully it wouldn't be any longer than 30 days.
Kathleen, this is a full EV, it's not a hybrid truck?
It's a battery electric, not a hybrid. That's the requirement of the program.
Good.
is
So
it a pickup truck?
They're getting 2 pickup trucks,
Small trucks, right?
small trucks, light
That's what I'm
duty
asking.
trucks. They'll be completely electric and they will replace 2 gas powered trucks. One is going to the Parks Department and one is going to the Glasgow wastewater treatment plant. So they'll save some money on gas over the year. All these changes mean town savings. The electric, signing up for the electric and getting these vehicles. I mean, the vehicle emissions were one of the highest things in our climate action
Absolutely.
plan.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about at least 2 vehicles now that they won't be using gas in. So that's good. And I believe the cost was about $105,000 for the 2 vehicles. So the town is not having to put a lot of money out to get these vehicles. They're almost completely paid for by the grant.
Right.
Good.
Well, great. And thanks for your work, Kathleen. That was great.
You're
Mary?
welcome.
Mary?
Yeah, Kathleen, not only do we save money on gas, but do we also save money on maintenance for these vehicles? Because I know that's true of electric vehicles generally. I was wondering if that's something we can
Well,
say.
I would say that's true. And actually, that's one of the things they do that's one of the things the Central Hudson Fleet Inventory does. It projects future maintenance costs and how much you will save. And by the way, I got a phone call from my son today he's got a Subaru and he's coming down to this Saturday to bring it to a friend who does automobile repairs because the dealer price, the labor price for repairing his car is $200 an hour.
Wow.
That's without
Oh.
parts. It's $200 an hour just for labor. So anything, that they can drive that's not going to require a lot of maintenance is going to save money in that respect too. As far as I know, I don't know if the town has their own mechanics I know in Greene County they did, the county had their own mechanics, but if they don't have their own mechanics and they have to send these things out, it'll be tremendously cost savings and cost savings in time.
Mhm.
That is an issue with a lot of things, that there's a big learning curve for repairing electric vehicles. So that's one of the negative parts of it. You can't, if they have in-house people, they're gonna have to have significant training on these new vehicles. So, I mean,
And
that's not our decision, but that's,
No.
one of the facts of when you bring up that issue of repair,
I
it's
don't
a
know
whole
what the-
different ballgame.
Yeah, I don't know what the town does regarding that. I'll
I
have
mean,
to-
I suppose the department heads would have objected violently if that was a big issue, that they couldn't take care of repairs. So, okay, Leslie?
Thank you. Kathleen, do you know if the town is required to get rid of those vehicles that are being replaced? And if so, where do they go?
Yes, they have to get rid of them, but they don't have to disable them. They can be
Yes, sir.
sold.
Okay,
Because
so they can
one-
go
one-
on and be
Yeah, one
used,
of the truck.
go to auction.
program-
They
I
don't
know-
stay in town ownership. They have to be auctioned or sent to auction or
Mhm.
something.
No, they don't require anything. I think the town may have a policy on that. I'm not sure, but the grant program just says that you have to get rid of them. You have to dispose, if you're replacing with an electric vehicle, they want you to dispose of it, but they don't say that you have to disable it. There's a truck
Right.
program which does require, if you replace your truck with another truck, I mean, this is larger trucks. You have to disable the one that you're replacing, but not this program. They don't say
Well,
that.
that actually, I mean, I don't want to waste time here, but that would seem really wasteful because then you have to invest in all those raw materials again to build a new vehicle. So but that
I-
discussion isn't going to get us anywhere here.
Well,
So, but I
Yeah,
just did want to know about if we had to get rid of the gas trucks. So thank you.
mhm.
All right, so speaking of vehicles, fleet inventory, and I've got it down here as Central Hudson, but there's also a nice program that Kathleen and I talked about earlier this day.
Right.
So Kathleen can explain those two different programs.
Okay, so my understanding of the NYSERDA program, it's basically strictly an inventory, which is a list of the different vehicles and the departments they're in. And they have 11 categories of information they want for each vehicle. Starting out with the model year, when it was purchased, the make, model, drivetrain, type of fuel power source, miles per gallon, mileage or hours of operation, class. That's gross vehicle weight rating. Function, function. Then they have 3 or 4 more categories which are optional, but there are 11 required categories. And that's a significant amount of information, basically.
Sure it is.
So, but the Central Hudson program will, they are asking different kinds of questions in addition to basic information on your fleet. And the difference between that and NYSERDA, as far as I can see, is that the Central Hudson study will include the total cost of ownership comparisons per vehicle. They would compare what it would cost to own the electric vehicle versus the gas vehicle. They would forecast the fleet-wide cost of operation and savings when you convert. And they would evaluate multi-year procurement plans specific to your fleet. And they would also include the emission reduction potential associated with converting your fleet. Not every vehicle, particularly in the highway department, would be eligible for something that could be converted to electric, because some of them are very, very heavy and they have heavy loads, and they're just not conducive to electric powering them. So there would be a number of vehicles that would not be included in the electrification plan. I did email Greg today. I don't know if he has a fleet conversion plan or a fleet conversion budget. I know that he has converted some of his things to electric, some of the off-road vehicles. So that's something that Central Hudson asks, do you have a plan already? So we don't know if the departments are planning for that. I really don't know. So just to try to find out, I emailed Greg and asked him those questions. I haven't heard back from him. I did contact Central Hudson to see if I could get a few more questions answered, but as usual, they have an email address, not a phone number to call, and I have not heard back yet from them about my questions. So in discussion this morning, Skip and I thought it sounded, and he suggested this, that to do the NYSERDA fleet inventory would give us points. And then you could still go ahead and do the Central Hudson part. You'd already have the information, and they could do the projection of the cost benefit analysis. So it actually sounds like a good thing to do both. But that's your decision.
Well, as long as you have to put out the energy to collect the information, and we're going for the points, and there's actually more information required for the NYSERDA thing, then we'll have that information if we
Right.
decide to do that, and therefore applying for Central Hudson is just using that information again. And
Right.
but the end products are two different valuable things. One points for getting grants, and the other looking into the future, having an analysis to judge what we can do in the future.
Right, and if they don't have plans in these departments, this will stimulate getting a plan.
Right. That was, I guess, Kathleen can speak better for this, that I found this true, getting information from the departments is kind of difficult. And Kathleen ran into the place as well. We don't have a electrification plan. We're not planning on doing that, but that's the point of making a plan. So again, and we talked about this again, we're reiterating that we probably have to get Fred to urge the department heads to get this information, because I don't think any of us are qualified to go into their database and get this information. And it shouldn't be incumbent upon us to do so. That's not I don't think that's our bailiwick. So, Kathleen.
Well, I spoke to Fred about that today, actually, and he did not seem to want to be wielding the hammer. And he suggested getting Patty involved. Who worked.
That's
said,
not gonna happen.
No,
Why don't we call Patty and see if she would help
No.
us with this?
That's
But
not
they
gonna
have-
happen.
more in the past.
But the highway department, the police department got back to me with a preliminary response when I just asked them about, getting a fleet inventory done. And he did, and with the thought of electrifying, and he did say, really, they only have 7 vehicles that would be candidates for electrification because they are the unmarked cars. He believes that the other cars are not candidates for electrification because they have to be sure that they're ready for emergencies at any moment. And so his feeling that was that it might not be advantageous operationally to think about getting electric vehicles for the specialized uses, you know, in emergencies. But he did say he thought the unmarked cars would be candidates, and they have 7 of those.
So we only have to gather information on those? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
And that also.
I believe that NYSERDA wants all the information on the entire fleet. Central Hudson has various questions that they ask on their form about the duty of the vehicles and so on. They're a little bit different than NYSERDA. And that plan may more focus on what you are thinking of electrifying. I mean, if the other police cars are out of the question, then for now, probably that wouldn't be part of the plan. They also asked, you know, if you have a budget in place, and we don't know whether they have a budget, whether they're even thinking that way, like a budget for the future for electrifying.
Well, it's going to be difficult, you know, to get information if Freddie's not willing to, you know, whip him into shape, because I don't think any of us could. So that's just my comment. Mary, you had your hand up for a long
Yeah,
time.
Okay, from our perspective, what's our role here? So as the task force, if we think that working with Central Hudson is beneficial because we'll know what our greenhouse gas emissions are and how we can reduce them, it certainly complies with what we as a task force are engaged in. Would it not be appropriate for us, in spite of what we see as the obstacles, to recommend to the town board that they participate in the Central Hudson, what is it called? The Central Hudson fleet inventory.
Fleet assessment.
Fleet assessment?
Assessments, it's called the Fleet Assessment Service application, Fleet Assessment Service. It's free.
Then it's free. Okay.
It's free, but we have to do the work.
Yeah, okay.
But they'll have a consultant to come up with the figures, you know, the cost benefit ratio and savings, everything like that. They will take care of that.
So that goes to a really important point, because we can make the case that if we have this data and if we work with Central Hudson, we can actually show, and Fred will love this, we can actually show what the cost savings will be, which is what the town is certainly very much interested in, and of course what the emission reduction is. So on both sides, it's a win-win.
I agree.
I agree too.
Yeah.
Carol?
And basically, it was just to reiterate something similar to that, which is obviously Fred is the leading guide to his department heads. And if he doesn't advocate for electrification, it's not going to happen. So how do we get Fred on board to do that, to encourage him to sort of be the leader for the rest of the departments?
I think what I just said is just make it clear that as a result of this process, we will know what the town will save, what the cost savings will be for the taxpayers. I mean, that to me is a really important selling point. But secondly, whether he's for it or against it, what's our role? Our role is to recommend to the town board what we think would be helpful. And so in spite of the obstacles, I'll make a motion that we recommend to the town board that they pursue the Central Hudson Fleet Assessment Service program.
I second.
I think. I agree.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And just to add
Mike,
one more.
wait, Mike,
Oh,
is
sorry.
Mike opposed? Mike, did you?
He's
Hello?
muted.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
the other piece that might go with it at some point, and I don't know if we've reduced our GHG sufficiently to see this, is what are the asthma rates, for instance, in the within our population, and did they go down simultaneously? I don't know if we would see that in our town or not. I'm just curious about it and whether the Department of Health would have that kind of information.
I'm sorry, I don't think I understood you, Carol. You're saying whether or not the population. of
The population, the asthma, you know, that asthma is created by greenhouse gases in part. And did our asthma incidences, especially in children, go down during this time period when our GHG went down 14%? It may be not sufficient data. I don't even know if anybody's collecting it. I know that that is something that is a great selling point in cities. So something to just keep our heads or note.
Well, are you willing, that's a statistic that you might be able to.
I don't
suss
know.
out.
Yeah, I would try to suss it out from the Department of Health unless somebody else has some information as to where to go for that kind of data.
That would be,
Anyway,
That would be a nice piece of information to have, so. we'll
Yeah.
check into that. Okay. All right, so any more questions, comments on the,
Elizabeth,
Yes, I just wanted to comment on Carol's comment that I think it is a very good insight about asthma. There was a when I was living in the city, there was a doctor, Philip, I can't remember his last name, Landrigan, I think, who documented quite carefully the incidence of asthma in children. And if the greenhouse gas emissions have gone down 14%, and it would be good to know this information. Also, in talking about the electric vehicle issue, I think the more that transforming the electric vehicles, the trucks into electric vehicles, rather than transferring them to another department would be a very good idea, because if they're just transferred to another, if the non-EV vehicles are transferred to another department, they would be in use and creating more greenhouse gas emissions.
I think
So,
the idea was they would sell them, not transfer them. Is that not correct?
Yes, that's right.
So they're not just transferring.
But actually, I believe one of them that they're getting rid of is they feel it's just a piece of junk. Nobody would be interested in buying it.
okay.
So that one probably won't be revived.
Good.
All right, so moving on, and so we have a significant vacancy. Rob Irizarry has resigned. He had volunteered to be the coordinator for the task force. So we're searching for a person who would volunteer for that position. And I want to ask again, if anybody here or know anybody else that would like to join, we do have since Rob's resigned, we do have a position open that could handle that, would want to handle that. And I'm sure that Mary, who's the most knowledgeable, would really be helpful in tutoring them on what would need to be done, and mentoring them. So is there anybody that would be interested in learning about that? Mary.
no, and also I know Kathleen has been really, really helpful. She's been working with the CEC program. She's been uploading data. So whoever is willing to take it on, the burden, I won't say the burden, but the work is, there's backup. Let me say that.
So both Kathleen and if we don't, I mean, I think we can ride without, having a quote vacancy for a while, but otherwise we're going to have to give up these programs without and we won't be able to do the grant work, and we won't, which may be what people want. Maybe you don't want to have that burden, but that's been very successful. We've gotten the town a lot of money through the grant work, but it really does require that work, and it does require a coordinator. So if that doesn't happen, by the end of the year, we're not going to be able to continue the task force work, so. Does anybody have any comments on that?
I think Carol's muted.
Yeah, I'm muted.
Carol, are you
Oh.
muted?
Yeah, I am muted. I was gonna say, I plan to retire in January.
What does
I
that
don't
mean?
know. So maybe
She'd have more time.
I'd have more time, yeah.
You would be excellent. You would be.
Would you be willing to, maybe we can have a triumvirate till the end of the year?
That's true.
Would Mary, would you be interested in Kathleen to kind of run it by the threes, and then by the time January came around, Carol would be up and running for herself? Would that work?
Well, I mean, I'm still here. I'm still involved. I'll, support in any way that I can. Yeah, I mean, I'm game. I think the idea is that, well, it's not the idea, but the fact it's mandatory under CSC.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's mandatory. So we got our recertification. So we're documented that we have a coordinator. So nobody's looking over our shoulder now. And I don't know if they're going to look over our shoulder until we go in 5 years for recertification, but that's aside. I mean, we really do need to have a named person there. So if we want to, two things, we can write it out until January and see where Carol is. Second, Carol could put her name in now, and it'll just be until the end of December, because all our terms expire. They're 1-year terms, and then we have somebody on record. There's no vacancy. There's no gap. And then come January, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if Carol will be able to continue. And if we maybe have somebody else in the community that we can identify who would take on the coordination, that's, would be another option. And if all else fails, then we won't be able to participate in CSC. Probably CEC though, because there's no requirement for a coordinator in CEC, but there is for CSC. So that's a whole other thought.
What about putting something in the paper, encouraging some new people to
Good idea.
join and get some more interest in the organ? I mean, a lot of people are interested in the improving the environment now. And maybe you could get someone in who might eventually be willing to take it over.
What about the young Tony Gabora is fairly young. I don't think he's here this evening, but he's quite young and seems interested.
What following up on Kathleen's point, I was thinking, just put it on the website that there's a vacancy in the task force. I would ask the
Great
person
idea.
to join the task force, not the CAC, because we have only 9 positions there. So what we can have as many people on our task force. So maybe just put a notice on the town website, that, looking for that, whatever the wording is.
Well, Rob was on CAC, right?
Yes.
So
that-
we have an opening.
Right, but my point is that the person we kind of want now will be focused on the task force on the climate issues, as opposed to this general CAC, which our mandate is the natural resources and the environment. Do you get my distinction?
Yep.
So we would want somebody who really cares about the environment, who would come forward and work on the task force, and then maybe eventually take over as coordinator.
Do you want to write something up, Mary?
Not really, but
Such a
Okay,
direct
I
guy.
mean, every time I write something, you edited it, and it's much better than what I wrote. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just thought
yeah,
that.
I'll do it.
I mean, because you're really good.
You're
at that.
good. You're a good wordsmith.
Right.
You know,
If I wrote it, you just have to change it. So once you just do it to begin with.
I was thinking maybe we should just take that other tact and write it out rather than put out that opening right now.
Well, we could do both. I mean, you know,
Mhm.
Well, you can't do both.
well, if somebody comes on the task force,
Yeah,
we have to become coordinator right away. And we can work the triumvirate thing.
you're just looking for somebody to be on the task force.
Right, just, you know, see if it happens. Not that we put out for a specific position,
Okay.
you know. Your hand's still up, Mary. Do you want to say more?
Nope.
Oh, your hand's up. Kathleen,
Yeah, I just want to let you know also that I have to be careful about taking on additional responsibilities. I had a conversation with Fred today. I really think the town needs to get someone in to learn what I'm doing, because I'm not going to do this forever.
Yeah,
And they need to get someone to kind of learn the ropes and become familiar with what we're doing. When I came on, I had no experience working with state grants. It's a whole different ballgame than nonprofit fundraising. And I learned on the job. So, but I am planning to continue to follow through with the open grants that I have now, which are quite a few, because I would like to see them to completion. But I really don't want to take on significant new grants. Because that, when I'm trying to kind of reduce my time a little bit, that's giving me extra work to do on top of what I already am following up on. So, and I am planning to be away about 3 weeks around the holidays with family things. And that's a long time to be away, but I have a commitment to my family. There's some changes going on and I want to be present to help them through those changes. So, so I do have to be careful about taking on extra things, and I do hope that Fred is going to look and see if they can get someone to start coming in and learn how to do these things, or maybe they'd already have experience. But it's time for him to get someone in and to start some of the grant work and become familiar with it. I don't have a retirement date in mind, but but I do want to scale back a little bit, and I will see everything through that I'm involved in.
Mary?
Oh, just quickly on that point, Vernon was, we had two grant persons. I mean, Vernon was special projects, but he worked on grants with Kathleen in the beginning. So it's not unreasonable, Kathleen, for the town to bring in somebody else to work alongside you and for you to reduce your load.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. I was thinking the same thing, Mary, that Vernon, there was a paid slot, obviously, for Vernon. And it really feels like we need a administrative assistant that can get out to these departments. Fred's not going to do it, obviously. And there seems to be a lot going on where we need to get information. And I think that's a valuable part-time job, to be established.
I agree 100%. I mean, Vernon has been so instrumental in this
Right.
whole process. And having worked with him, we all having worked with him, I just feel the void. I feel the void because when we did our climate action plan, Vernon was right there. He helped with everything. He had the history. He moved everything along. And he's not been replaced, and not that you could ever replace Vernon because he
No.
was so important. But I agree with you, Mike, that that position should be refilled. It's not
There
a
is a
position.
slot there. There's a budget line.
There is, Bill?
And we may want to make some suggestions.
I mean, it's not really our role in a way to get into personnel recommendations, but we'd have to work, around how to do that. But yeah, maybe we should, Mike. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, well, it's just more or less the need. We're not making a personnel selection or anything, but we're indicating through our work that that is necessary, and it does pull, it is part of pulling in the money, grant money.
Yeah, and
So it does assist
and
Kathleen.
I am 81. I will be 82
You don't look it.
next year. I
Yeah.
know people say that all the time, but it's time for me to have a little more leisure time and
Absolutely.
maybe a little less responsibility. Because I feel very responsible for these things that I'm engaged in here. And, you've got your deadlines and getting your information and everything. And I just think I need to take it a little easier now. I had a long conversation with my daughter last night. She was yelling at me.
Yes,
You need to have more fun, Mom.
yes. I agree. I turned 80 this summer and I really feel that I'm slowing down also. So you should take more leisure time for yourself, Kathleen.
Yeah, I do want to spend, I have a great grandson in Georgia that I haven't seen. He's 2 years old.
Oh,
That's one of the things I'm planning to do, go down and see my daughter, and then we're both going to go to Georgia and see my grandson and his wife and their 2-year-old baby, who I've never met yet except over the phone.
Absolutely.
So that'll be exciting for me since I haven't seen him yet.
wonderful.
And I want to be there and spend more time with the family. And they're not close by, unfortunately, so it needs trips.
Well, go do it. So are you willing, Carol, to be mentored to see if you want to actually take it over in January, and we can just write out what we got till then, and if you decide you can.
I don't know how involved it is. I don't know how much time would have to be involved in that part. And obviously, yes, I'm willing
Well,
to.
Mary can tell you.
I'm willing to learn about it, so.
Just to that point, if you were willing to get get an appointment now to December.
Yep. Can you,
All it really is doing is doing the agenda and talking about it, right? So,
there's no
to give me the-
meetings with
give me
anybody?
the updates. Pardon me?
Are there any meetings with anybody, or besides you perhaps to mentor me? And,
No. No, I mean, the only thing, there could be a webinar that comes up about some program or another, but there's no other meetings that I've been at except, our meeting.
well, I need to look into it, but yes, I'm definitely willing to get involved.
Okay, so why don't you, maybe Mary can give you a better overview once you two talk, and then we'll come back in the next meeting and see how you feel it.
Fair
Okay.
enough, thank you.
Does that work for you too?
For me, it does.
Okay.
Does it work for you, Mary?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, great. Okay, good.
Hey, by the way, maybe I'll volunteer for your organization when I retire.
Love to have you.
I believe what you're doing. I believe in what you're doing.
I would love that.
Oh, that'd be great. Kathleen.
That'd be amazing.
Definitely.
So when are you going to retire? January?
No, not exactly. I'll still have some coordination, that Saugerties shelter won't be done probably until next summer. And I promised I would stick it out through, well, at least whatever I need to do in terms of the multiple grants they have for that project. And by the way, Adele Zinderman, who's head of the Saugerties Animal Welfare Fund, has already said to me, but when you retire, you'll still do grants for the Saugerties shelter.
Yeah, Kathleen, you'll never get to Georgia.
Right.
Take care of yourself first.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so you got to move it on. I'll get a bunch of slack if I don't go get this meeting going. So next is the pollinator garden.
And
Pollinator
so
meadow.
fir-
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Over.
that's all right. So
Yeah.
first, I just want to say, Kathleen, you're too nice. Secondly, I sent out the update earlier today. That should suffice. Skip and I've been very busy working together. The sign came in, it's beautiful. We've made picket fence and sign standard, and we'll be getting those up, and the markers for each plot in the border. So read that report that I sent out, and that'll, and Kevin can attach it to the meeting minutes. Make it easy.
And the flowers are beautiful. I walked over there the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really was beyond my expectations. At one point, Leslie said we're going to have to manage expectations, i.e., well, if we don't get a bunch of flowers up, people are going to ask where they are. But it's gone way beyond expectations. I hope it
Yeah,
doesn't.
my intent, and I was thinking, if people were expecting a manicured garden,
Right.
that was the expectation that,
Yeah.
you know, it's a jumble. It's just a
nobody.
jumble.
It
Beautiful
looks,
jumble.
nobody
It's a
can.
meadow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's a meadow.
Yep.
Okay, so you
Right.
can read a report. So next, actually, Leslie's up again because we got the EMC report. So the first is the survey.
Yep.
There's a meetup
So,
happening in August.
yeah, so there was no meeting of EMC in July. The August meeting, there really isn't an August meeting, but it is a Ulster County environmental roundtable. If anybody is really wants to go and hear what other communities are doing, you can sign up. It does include a meal and presentations, and they are going to have an exercise of a new this new project that they're working on at the county level. And God, I just I'm drawing a blank on what exactly it is. It's not the community greenhouse gas. Well, it is. It's part of greenhouse gas. It's sort of this second part to it. Like looking at
The implementation
disadvantaged
plan, is it
communities.
the implementation plan, the action plan? Are they working on?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, for that greenhouse gas stuff. So there is like this exercise they're gonna have people participate in. I expect maybe it'll be group breakouts and stuff. So that's on the 29th of August. I think the deadline to sign up, I don't know what it is. It might be like the 19th or something, but we have to get together our CAC and task force accomplishments this year, what our challenges are, and what our goals are for the coming year. And I did send Mary and Skip. I kind of went back through some of the meeting minutes and came up with a list, and I probably don't have all the facts or anything right. So I just got to work with Skip and Mary on that. I think especially Mary, you. So yeah, that Mary's got her hand up.
Oh, no, I was just wanted to say, yeah, I haven't had a chance, Leslie, but I think it's due Monday, so maybe not
That's the
tomorrow,
19th,
Saturday.
right?
I will give you, I'll give you, so you had a good list to start with, and I can give you some more detail, and I'll
Yep.
send you something probably by Saturday.
And you know, they did have last year was the first year I went to it. And they did have, it was last year. They had a slot for the village of Saugerties is also invited, but nobody showed up for them. So I included a couple of, like the villages weed harvesting. So I don't know if we want to include the village or not include the village, but anyway, you've got the list and we'll work on it.
Okay, and then
The letter of support.
the letter of support. So
Yep,
what,
the Lower Sopus Stream, what is that even called? Management
Management
plan.
plan.
Yeah, so that is a couple 100-page document. They're like 200 and I don't know, however many pages. And the first 100 is the document, the rest is appendices. The implementation plan is going to be step 2. That's not really fully in process yet, but it is. I read through it. I paid particular. I probably read 80% of the important stuff. I paid particular attention. They divided the river up into 12 segments and had, described the segments, what the economy was, what the river usage was, what the recommendations were in various categories, from public access to stream health to I don't know, tourism, etc. And so I think it is a good document. The EMC put out a resolution. I think it was the EMC, but that's where I got it from, was from the EMC, not the EMC, the Environmental Bureau at the county level. That's where I got the resolution from. And at the last EMC meeting, Europa, who heads up the Environmental Bureau at the county level, asked for if river communities in the lower Hudson would sign this resolution of support to, that they endorse the plan. So I sent the copy of the resolution to Skip and Mary, and I recommend that we do ask the town to sign the resolution. The plan looks good. It involved a lot of public input. And I mean, I see a little bit of a gap here and there, but nothing that's a deal breaker.
Okay, so that's a proposal that the town signs and sends.
Yeah, the town, it would be a town resolution saying we endorse, this plan, it's got all the whereas, therefore be it resolved that blah, blah, blah. So,
So we should, if we're all agreed, we should forward that to the town.
that's what I think.
Yeah, I'll second that. Skip, that, remember, we were involved, and Leslie, you as well, when the plan was being developed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I went to that meeting, one of those public meetings last December.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the plan, management plan came out, I think it was late May. It's very recent. Yeah,
Okay.
so
is everybody up for sending that?
I
into
could
the
share
town?
that. I could share the link with folks if folks are ready.
Yes,
Yeah,
here's the
good.
link.
Share the link, okay. That, I kind of thought I guess I didn't do that.
You sent the resolution, but not the link.
Well, I sent to you and Mary, I forwarded Europa's email, so the link is in there, but I'll share it with everybody.
Thank you.
And what is this time sensitive?
I don't know that it particularly is. I mean, if we have other things that are more important, town asks, I think that's good. But Europa was delighted that I actually listened and followed up. I don't know that she expected much action on it, but
Well,
it's a.
Do others want to read it over again before we say, yes, let's do it? Or are we trusting in Leslie's judgment and we go ahead and send that to the town for?
I trust.
Send it
Oh,
on.
I was gonna say, what we could do is just send it out and make the decision at the September meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable, or would you
Yeah.
like to make the decision before?
If it's not time sensitive and September's okay,
Yeah.
then send the
I think
proposal
so.
around to everybody. And people will just say, get back as soon as we can, yay or nay. And we could do it we didn't have to wait till the next meeting. Just send the proposal around and everybody says, yeah, I like this, send it to the town. How about that? Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do
Okay.
that.
All right. It's you may find yourself just perusing it, but yeah, so.
Well, the proposal letter should be with it. That's
The resolution.
The resolution, I'm sorry,
That's
yes,
what we want. to-
Yeah, so I'll send a copy of the resolution and a link to the
yes.
the
Yes.
thing plus the resolution. Got it.
So the
Yep.
last thing under EMC is the Ulster County Natural Resource Inventory.
Yeah, and Mary handled that, so.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so town board report. So Zach went to the town board last night. There was a lot of things happening. But too significant to us was the Winston Farm people made a presentation of their draft generic environmental impact statement. Zach sent around a summary of that, which I thought was very good. The presentation was pretty much, you know, a lot of stuff we'd heard before, and they highlighted a couple of changes they made, like, you know, they're not doing a big amphitheater outside, but they're doing a 5,000 seat inside amphitheater. They're looking at open space. It wasn't that specific. It just said, well, we're listening to people and here's some changes we've made. I sent everybody the actual draft environmental impact statement. It's actually 1,500 pages long. I also tried to get Terry Wood to tell us how long we had to make comments on this. And I talked to Leanne today, and neither of them had an answer for that. So I heard 30 days, which seemed like an incredibly short period,
Right.
comment on 1,500 pages. So
Mhm.
I don't think I think that's just a starting point, and I think it's going to go on for a while. And I encourage, and Leanne's going to, you know, push for an extension. So, Mike.
I shouldn't,
I had sent, it was an interesting meeting in a couple of ways, because Adam Bosch from the
Why don't we
Patterns
consider
of
that
progress.
as a second, Mike? Let's talk about that as a second, because that's an issue separate from Winston Farm.
well, I'm connecting the two.
Okay, but part of the problem with
ahead.
the agenda last night is people were really confused that those two presentations happened. And
Okay.
Adam Bosch didn't even want them presented together because they thought that it was purposely linked, and it wasn't purposely linked.
No,
So with that in mind, you could go ahead, but this is
Yeah,
not a
that-
natural, it wasn't an intentional linkage.
no. In fact, Adam didn't want to be presenting with the Winston Farm because he has no connection to the development, and he didn't want to appear to in any way being supportive, making any statement concerning that. The thing that I sent you was something, a resolution involving pro-housing. But this links up strongly in my mind to the Winston Farm. This is a resolution that is sent on to the state. And when the state evaluates our zoning and our movement towards affordable housing, there is big money that can come to the town. And I called Fred and I talked about it. And evidently what happened at the town board was they saw, you know, affordable housing, and a lot of misinformation was coming out about this resolution. The resolution doesn't commit the town to anything. It just puts them into this program to be evaluated if they choose to be. And my feeling, and the reason Adam came to the meeting was because he felt that the town board was getting misinformation and the community was getting misinformation. But how it links to the Winston Farm is anything that can move towards some kind of density zoning and fill the need to some degree, because that's what was talked about. The need for affordable housing is incredible, and he pointed it out. Would really move the project in a more beneficial way, at least for me. So I sent out that resolution, and I'm asking you to consider sending that on to the town board to be passed. It's been tabled at this point. So that's the main thing I want to say. I started to read through the GEIS, and there is a executive section, so you can get through 35 pages and get a sense of everything in a very minuscule way, and then go as far as you want in reading it. The one thing I saw was they did in that thing mention 72% open space as part of the plan, but initially they put out that they have 5 sub areas, and those sub areas cover 805 acres. So I don't know where this open space is. So we really have to delve into the GEIS.
Right.
So Mike, I remember when we first started looking over this, and we came up with those two numbers, the 73% open space, which Catskill Mountain Keeper also uses. And there was also a reference to 50% open space.
Right.
What document was that we found that in?
The 50%?
Both of them were in the same document, and the
It had to be the
70% was in the
comprehensive plan.
preamble, and the 50% was in the body of the document.
Yeah,
I
I can answer that, Skip. I
Okay.
can answer that, Skip. Originally, and Carol, you can answer this as well. Originally, in the comprehensive plan, it was the 70% or 71, 70%, in the 70s, okay, open space. When the revised comprehensive plan came out in 2021, that was changed to at least, and the wording is at least 50% open space. So that's where it came from. It
Yeah.
came.
So
from
it's
the-
in the comprehensive plan in
now 50
2021.
is now 50%, a minimum of 50%. And then we get into the whole definition of what is open space, contiguous, et cetera, non-segmented, continuous, forested, whatever, the definition.
Can you pull up the section that's in? Because
It's in a section called large properties, large.
large properties?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And under
I want to
large-
relate that back to Leanne, because she said she couldn't find it. So I think it's
Yeah, I
important
think
that
it's any
she
property
knows
over
that.
100 acres.
Well, I'm sorry?
I think it relates to anything over 100 acres.
Okay, I want to relate that to her. So it's in the large parcel center of the comprehensive plan
Correct.
in 2021. Okay, because I think it's really important to the town board. I mean, whether it's 73 or 50, I don't know, but the 50 seems to be the one that was passed. But that's something that
But they have the 73% in their
they
plan.
being who? They being who?
The developers in the GEIS.
They said they were going to have 73%.
There's a section in there, and they indicate on the plan that they're putting forward that it would be approximately 71 point something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in there.
This is the one they just put out.
Yes.
Wait, but the
When
map
you
I
read
saw.
the executive plan,
Okay,
the
okay,
section
great.
under
Great,
open
okay.
space. And what they do is they have 3 different sections. They have a section called, it's almost like as it is. If you just did the zoning as it stands now on the property, and they just went ahead and followed the zoning, which they could do tomorrow, it would be awful.
Yeah.
They would have something like the ability to put up about 770 houses on the total property.
Anyway,
Because that's what it's zoned for, and they would be allowed to do it. So there needs to be a zoning change. Because that's like 1950 zoning.
Although, Mike, I don't think so, given the recommendation in the comprehensive plan that at least 50% has to remain open space. So I would question that they could actually do that based on the recommendation
Yeah,
of the
Well-
comprehensive plan.
well, according to what they're saying, they say that 773 houses would be allowed to be put on the property. Well,
That's kind of hard to believe since it's supposed to be 2-acre zoning.
right,
But whatever.
so even,
Whatever.
be that as it may.
Right.
What I'd like to do is all of us to have a chance to look at what was put out,
Absolutely.
and
read
then
it.
we can discuss it, because I'm in the dark. I don't know what was put out in the plan. And I want to get back to, the process, et cetera. Question number one. This is the draft GEIS, number one.
Right.
This was presented to the town board last night as the draft. Is that correct?
They were going to submit it today.
We're going to submit it today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it did.
Okay, so under secret, once they submit it to the town board has 45 days to review it, to review the draft. And they can either say accepted, they can say not sufficient, change this, change that. So my question is, when it comes out tomorrow and the town has 45 days to review it, are they going to take those 45 days? How long is it going to take? Question number one. Question number two, is this the first draft that they've ever gotten? So if they just got this draft, if they just get this draft tomorrow, how long is it going to take them to plow through it and say it is adequate, it has met all the requirements under the scope, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? However, if they've had a previous draft that they've already looked at, then I would understand that they might be able to accept this draft more quickly.
Mary, they have not received.
They haven't received it.
The GEIS came out, I got it yesterday. It was on their website yesterday. It's out.
Okay.
They have not seen anything before that.
Well,
too short a time.
Mike, let me just go to that point. If they,
Yeah, so I'm just saying, they haven't had anything previous to this GEIS.
so under secret, they get the draft, they review it, they say it's acceptable. You're telling me that the draft went out yesterday, but the town is getting it today, and the town has never seen it before?
That's
You're
what,
saying-
that's what Fred said at the meeting. Ken was there.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So under secret, once they get the draft and they say it's acceptable, they have to issue a notice of completion, and that goes to the DEC. And the draft does not become for public review until they issue the notice of completion. And once the notice of completion is out there, the public has 30 days to respond, 30 days. However, if it's complicated and as this draft will be, the town can require an extension. So what I'm proposing tonight is that we, assuming that it's out there now and the notice of completion has been given and the clock has started. Am I
Wait a
hearing?
minute, wait a minute. I thought they had 45 days to submit a notice of completion.
To review. The town
Right.
has 45 days to
There's
review.
also a hearings involved, Mary.
Wait, don't go to the hearing yet. They have 45 days to review the draft.
Right.
Now, what I'm hearing is the draft is already out there. And if the draft is already out there, that means they've filed a notice of completion. And if that notice of completion has been filed, the public has 30 days to.
Wait, I'm not, what happened? They just got it today or yesterday. So that starts the 45 days.
No, yes, for them to review it, for the town board.
Right,
to
so there's
review it.
gonna be 45 days before they review it. And then they have an option of a notice of completion. And then the 30 days follows that.
Right, right, but why would they have put it out? Why would they have put it out without approving
The
it?
town didn't put it out. The
Developer put it out.
developers gave it to the town.
Skip, if I could just clarify something.
Sure.
Okay. My understanding, and you and Mike are correct, it was very confusing last night, but it seemed very clear that the engineer who made the presentation said, well, it is out, first of all. It's on the winstonfarm.com website.
Right.
It was put out this morning. So that's what they said they would do. That's what they did. One of the people in the public comment period asked the board, have you seen this before in draft form? Or is this the first time you are seeing it the way we are? And Fred was adamant that today would be the first time everyone on the board would ever have seen this. They
Correct.
have not seen it before. So we got to see it the same time the board did. The engineer made it very, very clear over and over that what they were putting up was sort of general. It did not have lots and lots of details, that there was every expectation that the next step would be the town board starting to ask them about the details and them starting to have a conversation back and forth that could take a long time, but would be a conversation of what they wanted to do, a conversation of what the town board wanted them to change. So that in no way did they imply that there was a short deadline for the town board to read it over, think about it, and make a decision. This is going to be a long-term conversation back and forth. We've spoken to Fred about this beforehand,
Right.
and it's just the beginning of what they want to do, what the board wants them to change, how they're going to change it, the board looking at it again. It's not something that's going to end soon. It doesn't have a definite number of day time limit at this point. That's what I got out of all of the presentation and then what everybody had to say afterward.
Well, that clarifies that. I think that does clarify what my understanding is, that that they put out this draft. Now the town board has to review it. The town board has 45 days to review this draft. And if after 45 days, they accept it, they put out the notice of completion and the clock starts ticking for the public. But like Ken is saying, they have 45 days to review it. They look at it, they say, we don't like this, you didn't do enough here, your study isn't adequate, we want another study, whatever they want to say. And then it goes back to the developer and the developer redrafts it and then it comes back again.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
They did say that they are going to have to do a number of studies that have not yet been done. Studies on the water volume, studies on traffic, studies on a number of things that are at this point left undone in what they've put out. So they understand very well that there is a lot of work to be done and that the town board is going to make them do it.
I wonder why they put this out at all, then, if so much has not been done, the water studies and transportation and all. I mean, it doesn't seem to make any sense.
Well, it does, because it gives the town board an opportunity to look at the general ideas that they have in mind and to try and fashion them to be acceptable to the town board and the community. The other thing, you might have seen the two questions I posed to Zach once he said he wouldn't be able to make this meeting. One of them was, that at the meeting was the town's planner. I believe, Skip, you and Mike both pointed to a woman sitting near the front who
Yes.
had her laptop open the entire meeting.
Adriana,
I believe that is the town planner who had been the planner for the planning board and the zoning board until she switched companies. And
Right.
the company supplied a new person to the planning board and zoning board, but I believe she was then hired by the town board itself to work directly with them. And so I think that's who that was. But I
Right.
asked Zach
indeed,
in
I
my,
talked to Leanne today, and indeed, that was the case.
Yeah.
And she was out ill for a while. That's why she had to resign from the one company. The town hired her back, and then her old company hired her back, but she's still working for the town.
Yeah,
So that is the
and-
case.
That's
She is
Adriana?
Adriana.
I asked Zach,
Adriana,
Adriana, yeah.
I did ask Zach, I said, look, she's going to be reviewing for the town board the entire document, because that's what she did for the ZBA and the planning board. She would review entire documents that were submitted to us and have page after page after page of comments, suggestions, questions that should be asked of the applicant. She's going to do it for this. Maybe others will as well if the town hires them. And I asked Zach, are we going to get to see her analysis that she will be doing for the town board? He said, yes, everything will be made available. Now, I'm not sure I believe that, to be honest. I have to think that what she creates as an analysis and suggested changes, questions, all of that, that goes to the town board, I don't see that they're going to make that available to the general public. I said, if it's not going to be made available to the public, can it at least be made available to the CAC? And he said, yes. He said it would be. I think we need to press him on that as we go on, that whatever they receive having to do with the DGEIS and anything connected to it, we should get copies of that as well, because he said we would.
And the
But
town-
anyway, that's going to happen,
Pretty
we
sure they
know,
will.
and they'll base a lot of their questions on what she says as a professional, the DGEIS says and leaves out.
And the time frame is important for that. We should receive her comments very soon after she makes them. So
That's
we'll-
what I asked him to be doing, and he said the town board would. Anything that they get, they will make available to the public. I don't believe you. I don't believe that, but I think he believes it. My experience has been that's not always what happens, but he may believe it, and we may be able to, keep saying to him, has the town board gotten the report from Adriana yet? Have they gotten the report? Can we get a copy of it? If we keep pressing, maybe we will. The squeaky wheel is the one that gets oiled.
Hmm.
And I really want to see what she says about it.
Right.
Are there other comments?
She was the one that did mention hearings too.
Where can we find the full document? I only got a summary.
I sent it out a couple of hours ago.
I sent you the full document.
Okay, I'll go and check that again. Thank
Yes.
you.
I sent the whole, and also if you don't have it, if you didn't get it, you could go to the Winston Farm site, and it's there, and it's also on the town site.
Yeah, it's
So
on
there's
the
three,
town
there's
site.
three different places that you can go to get it.
Okay, because all I got was something that was upside down. I had to,
That's the PowerPoint.
That was just the
That's the PowerPoint.
PowerPoint
okay.
from.
I
from
sent you
last
under
night.
different cover a copy that I got off, that I was sent.
WinstonFarm.com.
Leanne sent me a copy too, so I copied that and sent it to everybody.
It's on
What else is good and open?
WinstonFarm.com. At the top of the first page is
WinstonFarm.com.
the link.
Mary?
yeah, just quickly, I was online, as were 10 of us online, and we couldn't get in. So that's why I'm not up to speed as to what happened at the meeting last night. But I just want to be clear that that this document that's out there is the draft. We know it's the draft, and it is the initial draft that the applicant has put forward. And as Ken points out, this draft is going to go through a process of review and revise, et cetera. So that's, and that will take place, and we don't have a, well, question. My understanding is that once the draft is out there, the town board has 45 days to either accept or ask for revisions. So are we all clear on that? Is that our understanding? So, okay. Okay. I just wanted to, there's so much going on here that I just wanted to make sure I got it all clear.
Leslie?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, there was a scoping document. When was that? Maybe a year or so ago?
Ago,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so a cross check has to be made between that scoping document and the DGEIS to make sure everything that was identified in the scoping document that needed to be in the DGEIS is in fact in that document.
Isn't that what Adriana would do?
Mhm.
That's part of what
We should
she's
do-
supposed to
that's-
do, yeah.
Well, that goes to my point and to Elizabeth's point. If everything, and we know, Leslie, that's right, they have to address everything that came up in the scoping document. And if they don't have the studies, and if they don't have the reports, and they don't have, at this point, it's why would we be, we can't even compare it to the scoping document right now, according to what I'm hearing, because there's so much
Then it will get a notice of incomplete.
that would, yes, when we get a notice
Yeah,
of
maybe that's fully what they expect.
from this document, from this draft.
I mean, that's it. If they don't have what's in the scoping document in the DGEIS, and they know it's that deficient, as if it's as deficient as you're thinking it will be, and they can issue a notice of incomplete. And then
I think
specify what needs
in
to be
the document is listed the 12, I think there were 12 areas that they were charged to look at. So they do list that in the document. So I guess they are aware of what they have to do. One other thing they did say was obviously the whatever project they put forth is not going to happen at the same time. This could take, there could be certain sections developed and others not. So at each stage, they have to be double checked.
Yep.
So they might say, well, we want to start with the housing. And so each section has to be double checked as they go along.
Well, my experience with HITS at least was that the developers went ahead without getting prior approval for previous stages. So I think that's very poor planning to say we'll start with such and such and then go. I mean, there should be
I'm sorry.
an assessment,
Mhm.
some kind of consensus about the whole plan rather than go in a fragmented way.
Mary?
Yeah, just to that point, the reason it's a GDEINS, that it's generic rather than a regular one,
Exactly.
is because we're not looking at one development. We're not looking at one parcel and what are the impacts on this particular parcel. It's generic because there's so many different components of it. So they can say, well, there's no environmental impact on this part, but it has to be considered, the environmental impact has to be considered in light of all the other components of it.
That's right.
Yeah, so I don't know where that leaves us in terms of how they're going to do one parcel, but that parcel has to be considered the environment impact adverse environmental impact has to be considered in light of the entire development. So I don't know how that's going to work. Does anyone else?
Oh,
You should go for,
Carol, go ahead.
you should be called income.
Carol,
Yeah,
Carol,
I'm not sure if this is relevant or not, but Bishopsgate was done over a period of time and was developed in segments, but also they had to have the whole thing looked at first. So it couldn't just be, one at a time, like you were saying, Elizabeth, and then being looked at fragmentally, but that they had to have a whole plan, and then they would do and planned development in terms of where they were going to do the development. So yes, you can't fragment it, basically.
so is that why it's called generic?
Yes.
That part I don't know.
So
Yes.
there's the overall plan and then the individual components that also have to be looked at individually.
Yes.
The whole thing has to be
Yes.
looked, as
So-
Karen said, not fragmented. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
for instance,
yeah.
at Bishopsgate, I'm sorry, just one more thing. At Bishopsgate, they had to come before the planning board every single time they started to develop a new segment of it.
Right.
So I'm sure that's what will happen here too.
You're not gonna find any specific site plan in
Correct.
this generic statement.
Correct.
It's not at that specific stage, like they put out 5 sections of the property that one is for housing, another was for the music center, whatever they're doing, performing center. It's just a region, but there's no specific plan. And until you see the site plan,
Yeah.
I don't know where the open space is. So until I can see a site plan, then you can really eat into it and say, where's that contiguous open space? And Casco Mountain Keeper, that was their one statement last night. We want the 73% open space.
Mary?
Well, just to make this even more complicated, what we really have to be watching out for also is this PDD zoning change. The planned district development. We
Right.
gotta really watch out for that. That is going to be the guiding force in whatever the guiding document and whatever goes on there. So we can't keep our eye, we have to keep our eye on that. That's really going to be important. So I just wanted to put that out there.
So that happens as a result of when the environmental impact statement is finally accepted. On the basis of that, they do the PDD. Is that correct?
I don't know. I don't know where that's going to come in, Skip. I just don't know. I just know that we're going to have the draft and then we're going to have the final. I don't know where that comes in, but that's going to be so key. I don't know the answer.
I would think the zoning is going to be the very last thing.
I would
Because
too.
that's where the town has the power. So they will look at the whole completed, plan with the specifics. And then they will indicate, well, whatever zoning change
Here's what
they
they
want to
accepted.
make, or put forth, the town will put forth. The one thing I always get from Fred is that the zoning is what's going to determine the open space. And there's the town can say, well, we'll allow you to build a house on 1 acre, but we want that 1 acre to be open space. So that's kind of the way the deal works, as far as I can see.
Any other comments?
Just one final thing, but wouldn't the developer want to know what the zoning requirements are before they do their plan? I would want to know, hey, I can't do this, I can't do that. I can only do a 2-story or a 3-story. I can't do a 5-story because that'll be in the zoning. So wouldn't the developer want to know what the zoning requirements are before they make their plan. They could plan for a 5-story multifamily
Well,
building.
I think that's what they said last night, that they had no specific plan yet because they needed to know what the parameters were.
Okay,
And I think that is true. I don't think that they can
But-
do anything, they can make any final plans until they have that PDD that tells them what they're allowed to do.
Mhm.
that was just my speculation, but I wasn't at the meeting last night, unfortunately.
Well,
Well, I mean, they said they had no, so this is all to be developed and they need to get the environmental impact statement done so that town can do the PDD, so they can make their determinations on what they're actually gonna do. Can't work the other way around.
Right, so
Carol?
I think, wait, can I just say one thing before I
Yeah.
forget? The thing that's coming together for me is that this is just the impact on the environment. That's what we're just looking at now. We're not
Right.
looking at the size of the house or the this or the that or the other.
right,
We're just saying, hey, the impact on the environment is going to be X. The impact on our land or natural resources or our wetlands or our water supply is going to be something else. That's sort of in a separate bucket from what the actual site plan will be, what the zoning will be, and then what they will plan. Is that
Correct.
am I getting this?
But they're so intermingled. You know, if you don't know what you're gonna be placing there, you don't know what the impact on the environment will be. So-
Well, if you know what your limitations on the impact of the environment is, then you know what you can
Right.
put.
It's sort of, that's true.
So, I mean, that's what's happening right now, though.
it's an
They're
environmental
determining
impact
the impact
statement.
on the environment. And then on the basis of that, they'll make a zoning plan and allow certain things to happen. And then the developers can work within those parameters that are allowable.
So in the draft in the draft EIS, they have to determine what's an adverse environmental
Yeah.
impact, how it can be mitigated. If it can't be mitigated, can it be allowed? So to Carol's point, how do they decide?
Well,
Okay, enough already. I'm done.
And
Right.
Yeah,
the other question.
read the thing and then we'll.
Right.
we can-
I'm in the process of reading it right now. And the one thing that I'm not clear on for myself is the planned development district concept and what the implications are.
Mhm.
And do we know anybody who could present that to us, for instance, at the next meeting?
Mountain Keeper.
The Casca Mountain Keeper would be a good one. Could we have somebody talk about that specifically?
Yes, because I had a conversation back when this all came up and
Okay.
I don't want to misquote anybody, but I did have a conversation and the general response was that you have to be very careful with that district
Right.
because I don't want to misspeak, but just the general idea that you really have to be careful about what's going to happen with that. So I would start with Mountain Keeper, that they might be a good start. There may be I'm not aware of any others. And
Why not start with Ariana? She's been.
I
doing
would,
it.
my same, my was
Oh,
what I
good
was thinking.
idea.
Because
Let's
actually,
have the town's consultant tell us what it is.
Or Max Statch, who is, I think, her boss at the Nelson Voorhees, what's the name of her company? Nelson Pope Voorhees.
okay,
so
I
don't
think
mind.
that's better. The reason I think that's better than Mountain Keeper is Mountain Keeper is very prejudiced.
They have a bias, right?
They are very biased.
There's a
And I
bias.
think that the planners could give
Thank
us, they could give us, here's what allowed in a plan development.
I'd like
Of
to.
course, we have to
her
be
next
careful
month.
with it, but
Yeah.
No,
So-
that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah.
So with Ariana, and she was pretty good. She was.
Yeah, Adriana is great, as is Max, Max Statch, her boss.
do you have any kind of relationship with him?
Well, I have one only because he's our consultant for the planning board. So I
So
can. talk to him.
could you approach him and ask him,
Yeah,
he would
yeah.
speak to us? That's what I'm
I'll
asking,
ask. I'll ask for sure.
because I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah,
I
either
think
one
that
of
would really
them.
give us a lot of insight and give us, we'll see all these things that are coming out in the AIs, and then we'll know what a plan development is,
Right.
and we can compare that. We'd have a relationship there to look at.
Right.
Right.
Is he an
Thank you.
expert on zoning? Is he an expert on zoning and planning?
I don't know if he's I wouldn't know what he's an expert in, other than he's been a great consultant. I don't, yeah, do you think Adriana is? Do you know her to be an expert on zoning?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's a good question. I can ask him what he knows about zoning. Obviously, he's actually tried to do a training on seeker for us when we had some extra time in January of last year. And that went by the wayside as we started building up steam here. And I knew this was coming along. Winston Farm was definitely going to be around very soon. I just could hear the galloping, but I didn't know when and I didn't know how. And
Well, that would be, see, that would be very helpful for us too, because we have these questions about seeker also.
right. I think he would be a great person to
Oh, well, that-
involve. I don't know if he would be required, if he would require money. I don't know, those are the things I
Oh, we
don't,
got a budget.
I'll ask. Oh, that's true. we have budget.
absolutely.
I recall hearing about a PDD a few years ago. I can't recall what the context was, but it's very, as somebody else said, one has to be very careful how PDDs are constructed and the approach to them. So I think, that's one thing we have to be very careful of.
It's like customized zoning, right?
I
It
don't know.
So
allows for
that's
a
how I-
greater variety of building.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
A real mixed use. Much more.
Okay, well, if you can contact him,
I will.
Yeah,
see if he would like to speak with us.
I will.
I think that would
promise.
be incredibly helpful. And if not, we can approach Adriano too,
great.
okay? All right, so is there anything significant happening at the planning board that we need to know about, Carol?
We haven't had the meeting, and other than, oh my God, Winston Farm is here.
Okay, that's the same thing we're saying. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, Linda? You're on mute, Linda.
Yeah, I unmuted myself. Yeah, just a small update on Repair Cafe. Obviously, next one is October 5th. I'm working on getting signs made so that we'll have them coming into the village from both south and north. And lost that note. Okay. The guy from Archtop Fiber is going to support us again. I hope with the same amount of money. I'm going to be working with Smith Hardware to continue working with them. They've been very supportive. But we do need fixers, repair coaches. So if you know of anyone who's a jewelry repair person or wood repair person, we don't have them. And I think most of the repair cafes are looking for knife sharpeners and scissor sharpeners. So those are the four that we don't have that we would like to have, that I think would be
Wood,
helpful.
jewelry, knife and scissor sharpeners.
Yeah, and wood repair.
Yes, I would.
Because we had a wood repair person scheduled last time. They had a family emergency that took them out of town. We had at least 5 people show up with chairs to be glued or repaired in some way. Yeah, Leslie knows. And one of them was none too happy, but what are you gonna do? You're gonna get that. That happens.
It's free, man.
Okay,
Exactly.
How might we advertise for them? How might we do some outreach for?
I talked to Stacy about putting it on TV 23 on Facebook. So I want to advertise, but I want to be very cautious. I don't want just every Tom, Dick, and Harry to kind of jump in, So I'm not sure. I don't want to just put it out there, but I'll start with that,
At our agency, there's a guy there who does knife sharpeners. Meaning that he doesn't use a wheel, or I don't know what people use.
Yeah,
He
okay.
does it by hand. And I could ask him if he'd be interested in participating. He
Sure.
actually lives in that new apartments on North Street.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
he lives
Yeah.
here in Saugerties.
Give him my information,
Yeah.
yeah,
His name
that
is
would be
Mike.
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
any other announcements?
I'm
So I'd
good.
like to be clear, do you want me to send an email to the town board saying we're in favor of the pro-housing resolution that Mike sent around? Is that my understanding?
I have some concerns about that. because one of the provisions, if you sign up for this, they talk about streamlining zoning. And I don't know what the definition of streamlining zoning means. And I think I would like to know more about what we're committing to if we're.
Okay, so how can we find out about that? Who would know about that?
Oh, let me jump in here.
Yep.
I was at the board meeting when that resolution was brought to them. And because there were so many comments by the public, negative comments, and it became clear that nobody really understood what it was. So we have a contact at the county. The board decided to have a presentation by Kai Lord Farmer, I think his name is, with Ulster County. They're involved with that at the county level. And he said he would be willing to come and explain it and take questions.
Great.
Okay, good.
So the town board is going to schedule that for another meeting
Okay,
for public comment, and he'll be there to do a little presentation.
okay,
and
great.
answer
We
questions.
should attend that. Okay.
Yeah, so I would suggest we hold off and
Yep,
Yes.
okay,
see
I
what he
agree.
has to say.
okay. Okay, we're done.
you,
It's 7
Skip.
o'clock and we
Thank
made
you.
it.
Move to
Thank you.
adjourn,
Thank you.
move to adjourn, move to
Thank
adjourn.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
second. Take care. Have a
Bye.
good dinner.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
All of you.
everybody.
Take care.
Thanks,
Take care,
Kevin.
everyone.
Good night, good night.
Night, good night.
Bye.
Skip.
good night, everyone.
Good night,
night.
Kevin.
Thank you,
See you
Ken.
later.
I mean, Kevin, sorry, getting late,
No problem.
getting late.